to leave them guessing, you know, so that they'll pay attention to the next sentence. And the thing about CA, when it's done right, or rhetorical criticism, or RC, when it's done right, every word is intended to be there. No one word is there just as a placeholder. Each sentence is there for a purpose. And that's when you guys see the really, really good CAs at big tournaments that are breaking, the ones that are in the final rounds at nationals. The competitor and whoever they've worked on that speech with, there's some out there who do it just by themselves, but whoever has put time and effort into that speech knows that that word is there for a reason. That sentence is structured in such a way to get a point across, and that just builds into a speech full of sentences that have a purpose and a meaning that gives you a speech that from start to finish is just ridiculously tight and just does everything it needs to do and keeps you paying attention to it.
I guess like now you're coaching, you probably are asked this question several times is what makes a good crit topic?
That's a good question. In my opinion, and this is purely from the perspective of being someone in the back of a room with a ballot and a pen in my hand, a good CA, a good communication analysis, is a speech that addresses communication or a manner of communication effectively. It takes a new look at it, or if it's looking at it from a perspective that has been done before, gives me implications that are really, really strong and really, really interesting. I mean, I guess what I go back to is the definition that I found when I first started doing it, which is that it's a speech that applies a methodology to some sort of persuasive artifact. That's what I think is a good CA. Now, when you meant artifact, right?
Right, I meant a good artifact.
Good artifact. It can be anything that's persuasive. I've seen, I saw a CA about stamps in Mexico. That was one of the most interesting things I'd seen that entire year. And then, I saw a bunch of speeches on, the 9/11 graphic cartoon, but it was done, they weren't done strongly. They were done, relatively middle ground, and, it's what you make of the artifact that is, that determines how good it is.
Do you think this is more so true in crit than the other platforms, that the artifact or the topic is I wouldn't say less relevant, but in the overall analysis of like how good your speech can be, the artifact that you choose is significantly less relevant in crit than it is in other platforms?
When you say good, do you mean like is it something that's really well done or something that is successful?
I would hope so that one implies the other.
Right.
In a world that one implies the other.
Okay. And one that implies the other. I would say actually I think because there are a lot of good topics out there for persuasion that you just can't solve for in 10 minutes. I think there's a lot of interesting programs or discoveries out there that you really can't fit into a 10-minute speech in an informative round. And I guess this kind of seems like I'm going to the aspect that yes, it's less relevant, but honestly, I think that since the artifact, there's two main things in your speech: the artifact and then the methodology. That the topic for this is very important. You can have a great topic in a persuasion, but your solutions are non-existent. So that's just a wash. A good CA is well formed from start to finish. So you need to have a very good topic. So I think since they're so interconnected, in particular with this speech, that I hate to rank importance of topics, but I would say if you were CA would not be less significant.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some ways that you can conduct your CA?
In
Well, I don't know. I've learned to record. Do you just use your computer? And
okay. Sorry. Basically, it's like any other platform speech. You're gonna be. I guess I'll just go from the start of the round. You're gonna be sitting in your chair. Let's say you're the first speaker, because you're double entered or something. The judge is gonna call you up. You're gonna come to the center of the room. Thank you for reminding me. This is important. You want to center yourself to the audience. You don't want to center yourself to the room. So for instance, I would say right here, because there's 3 rows. But let's say that you were over here. I would want to start from here. Now, obviously I would move this out of the way. But I would start from here. You don't start from the center of your room. You start from the center of your audience. And then the speech has to be memorized. So you want to do that. You want to keep it within the 10 minutes. And then what you do is give your introduction in the center. Then you're going to transition over to one side of the room for your first one. This is the article, these are the tenets. You transition again. Now there's 2 schools of thought to your transitioning. You can transition back to the middle for your second point. My personal attitude was to keep going to the other side for the second point, and then go over to the back for the third. I like to take in the whole room, what can I say? But then you always, no matter where you are, you come back to the center for your conclusion. And that's that. And then you just, people clap, and then you sit down. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Do you use pictures? Like how
Oh,
do you
yes.
present your
You can incorporate the visual aids, either like picture or an audio visual aid, either way. You can introduce them in your speech where you feel they're best served. Some people would have started their speech with the beginning with the cartoon, the first 27 seconds of their speech. Other people might have introduced it in the middle of their speech when they were applying the tenets to the actual artifact. So it really depends on how you write the speech, where it goes directionally, and where you feel it best serves, your point. So, anything else? All right, you guys have been excellent. Thank you for your questions.